Hey everybody, welcome to the GAU Summit. We're going to be talking about some different topics today. You can follow us on GAUstudios.com, or you can follow us on the web, and you can look us up on YouTube under GAU Studios. I'm Jake Sanguinary Oz Krajewski, and I'm joined by...
I am Eric Rickety Beans Urbino, the editor-in-chief at GAUstudios.com, as well as the host of Square Triangle Circle X.
Do you want to build a snowman? I couldn't help it, I'm sorry. Andy, Game Diplomacy Lanique.
Don't get the reference.
Frozen, really?
I have never seen Frozen. I'm not a 7-year-old girl.
Everyone who saw that, thumbs up. Oh!
I've heard it's good, but...
I've heard it.
I haven't played the game, that's the big question. Holding
Quest.
down the boom, it's Drew D3 Frere. I play a lot of League of Legends. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, that's why we got him on. We're like, you know what we need? A League of Legends diehard.
We need somebody who plays League of Legends and has triple Ds.
Yikes. Is there a character that has that in League of Legends?
Oh.
Even the male characters have it. League.
Yikes. The pecs. The rippling pectorals. All right, so today's question or
Besides
topic
pecs.
is going to be, what's the difference or what are the leanings between like ESRB rating system and like cultural preferences?
Boom, I'll kick it off. No one else talk.
Good.
I think the ESRB is an awesome idea. As far as culture goes, it's only really in America, right? Each country has their own different setting. I know Australia has
Peggy
but
in
ours,
Europe.
yeah, but Peggy and ESRB basically they work together.
Do the same thing.
They figure everything out the same way.
A Peggy 16 is what? An M? To
Yeah,
clear that
Correct.
up.
Huh, okay.
16 plus.
They use
is
the,
an
they
M.
use the same rating format. It's just a different. It's a different. Each one has a different like level.
Right.
Yeah.
And much like alcohol and cigarettes and things like that,
Yeah.
different
It's
countries
metric
have,
versus English. It's,
Yeah,
you know,
they have
centimeters
different-
with inches. It's the same idea.
They have
I'll
different
start
ages
from,
where
like,
they
the
allow it.
baseline here. I think these rating systems are a good idea because they're controlled by the industry and not by the government, which is the main thing here. Like, it's the same reason the MPAA exists. It's because these industries understand how their content works, they understand how to judge it, and they want to show the government that they don't need to put their hands into this and take control of their industry because they're perfectly able to regulate it themselves, which is key. Sometimes it gets a little bit overbearing, but I think for the most part, we're seeing a lot better, more specialized dealing with our issues than we would under a governing entity. We've seen what the government wants to do to games, and I think we can all agree that the ESRB is a much better, if necessary, evil than these blanket bans on content.
Maybe I'm thinking differently about culture when you use the term culture here.
Do you want me to explain what I meant?
I do, because
Okay.
I don't want to go off on the wrong tangent.
Yeah, we don't you launching off at some strange
Go off on the wrong
trajectory.
tangent.
Okay, so basically what I meant was, so I've lived overseas and, you know, working in the industry here. The biggest difference that I see is, let's say, I'll use a game like Grand Theft Auto. So Grand Theft Auto is banned in Australia and has like it's really restricted in some countries. And I know Australia has this big ban against like stuff that's like super violent and, you know, certain content. But I'll get a lot of parents that'll come into a store and they'll say something like, "I want to buy this for my kids." And, you know, whoever they're dealing with will say, "Oh, well, this is rated M," and they'll be like, "What does that mean?" "Oh, it's rated for 17 plus." Why? "Oh, because it's violent and, you know, it has like drug references and there's nudity and there's sexual themes." And I've found that American parents in general are fine with a game being violent or gory or bloody, and in Europe it's completely opposite. Like if it has sexual themes or nudity, they're like, okay, that's fine, it's not a big deal. But in America, it's we're kind of prudish about that, and they're like, oh, violence? Yeah, my kids have seen all that stuff. That's fine. There's nudity in it. Yeah, sorry, Timmy, you're not getting that game.
That's
it's just
fine.
Yeah, that's what I thought you. That's what I thought
it's
you meant.
weird.
It reflects our
Yeah.
TV ratings, too.
Exactly.
It does. It's
Like,
the
you see a lot more
culture.
sexual content in European advertisements, but a lot more violence in U.S. advertisements.
You also see a lot more sexual comfort with it as well. I mean, everyone at their different ages just kind of get it. But the moment you see someone, you know, getting their head cut off and a certain thing, it's completely taboo. Over in
We'd
Europe.
love to see it here.
Yeah, for some reason, the ultra violence is what sells here.
I don't get
and the
that.
depressing themes. I mean, not to sound crazy, but I'm going to use Sherlock for example. Alrighty, when you watch, well, the American Sherlock Holmes, so to speak. I forgot what it's called.
Robert Downey Jr.?
No.
No.
Sorry,
No,
No.
the one with
The show.
Lucy Liu.
The one with Lucy Liu.
Yeah,
the
it's
show.
Elementary.
Elementary versus the actual Sherlock, the winning Sherlock.
The good one.
Alrighty.
Real and
You see how
older
those
one.
shows are completely night and day different. Even if they were different writers, they have a different mentality about how to run the show. And, you know, the one in the U.S. is far more violent, while the one in the U.K., in my opinion, is a lot more suggestive towards everything. They don't need to show anything. You kind of get it. Even the blood levels aren't that high. So I think that you have a good idea of what's going on with the games as well when the culture crosses over. But that's just Europe and U.S. I mean, if we talk about Asia, we're talking about South Africa, and if you're also talking about, you know, I'll hit Guatemala, and I'll also hit, just because I happen to know, Nigeria as well. Ultraviolence is absolutely no, because they're already dealing with so many different issues when it comes to conflict. They don't even want that kind of stuff there. Even the idea of it, guns, violence, is just out of the question. So they'll probably have a game that teaches more sexual education. You know what I mean? Before they have Call of Duty.
I feel like a big part of it is it's almost like parenting. Like, if parents are almost like, well, if it has violence, like, I can just tell the kids, well, violence isn't okay. But if there's any kind of like sexual content or nudity, it's like, well, now I need to have that talk with my kids. So I'm not doing that.
That's kind of why I have a problem with the ESRB. I mean, if you look at GTA 5 and you look at South Park, the back of the box, the only difference in the M thing is that one has suggested drug use and the other has on-camera drug use.
Right.
Like, but
which one has the on-camera?
GTA 5, where you can hit a huff paint and smoke pot and do everything. But the point is that, like, those games are rated exactly the same. It's M. It's M, and you know, you ask, why is this M? Oh, well, it's got violence and this and that. But in South Park, there's male genitalia flying towards you and stuff, where, you know,
it's animated,
but so is Grand Theft Auto.
True, but that's more real.
So yeah, but the way I see it is calling everything M is hurting people's knowledge.
I agree.
Because I played Grand Theft Auto as a kid, and I find no issue with the fact that it's violent, but I knew the difference between violence, but that's culture, right?
Right.
But the sexual things in South Park, if I was given that game at 12 years old, I would definitely, like I said, I'd be like, what? What is happening right now?
There's too much of a gap between M and then AO. Like, we don't. You're not even allowed to sell AO games in the U.S. Like, it's illegal.
What does AO stand for?
It's adult only.
Besides Anarchy Online.
It's adult only. Like, there's a ton of titles in Japan that are AO, and there's a couple PC games that are AO, and it's a lot of it's just for content. Like, it's literally it's so severe. It's that bridge too far, so it can't be M. But M is such a massive. It's such a massive gap.
Everything
like if you go
M.
from T,
Halo is M.
Yeah, from T to M. Yeah, but that's different. From T to M. So Call of Duty 2, like World War II, that was only rated T for teen.
Right.
And Halo is rated M for mature, and then Call of Duty Modern Warfare is rated M for mature. And if you look at the descriptors, both Call of Duty 2 and Halo are both blood, violence. What is it? It's blood and violence, I believe.
Correct.
And then the step up to Modern Warfare is it's blood and gore, intense violence. And the big differentiator between the two is with Halo, that was a conscious choice by the developer, where they were like, well, if it's an M-rated game, it's going to sell better. So they pushed it. Like, it was really close. They were going to get a T, and they were like, well, we'll opt for the M. You can always go up a category, but you can't go down. You have to be at least whatever the minimum is. So with the two Call of Duties, one was clearly a T, that was fine, and one was clearly an M. But there's no, like, Halo is one of those, it's the baby steps M. It's really not that bad for an M-rated game.
Absolutely.
But then you have Grand Theft Auto, which it ticks every box. You know, sex, drug use, violence, like blood and gore, like drug, it's all of it. It's like the M-ist of the M-rated games. But like you said, there's no differentiating those two games, but there should be. They're not the same.
They're not the same. I would let anybody play Call of Duty, like, just because it's war, and I don't think the violence is ever glorified like in Grand Theft Auto when you torture somebody. Like,
well, there's the the airport scene in Modern Warfare.
Airport.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
That is a big deal. That one was a big deal.
Yeah.
That was a big deal. They allow you to check it off at the beginning, though.
Right. Well,
You cannot play that.
So I have a question for the naysayers among us to the current rating system. What does your ideal rating system look like?
I would say the front of the box tells you what's on it, not the back of the box.
I would just
Instead of
the same rating system, but to the front.
you could say it's M for this, and this on the front in that little corner rather than the back in the little corner, because then you know when you pick up that game, this is what I'm getting myself into. But I also think that using broad terms like violence and sexual content is too broad. It should be like tell you what it is. You know, I don't know. Yeah, I don't. Ball sack swinging towards you in South Park. Like, should it say that on the front of the box? No.
Danger, taint scene.
Oh my god.
For ball sack swinging.
I mean,
all right, Oz. What's like?
Go ahead. I'll go last.
There's a couple of websites that are really helpful to like parents or anybody who's thinking about these games. Like the ESRB website is really good. It's esrb.com. But then one that's even better is commonsensemedia.org, and they'll break down everything. So if your kids are like, oh, we want to get Saints Row, you can go on to Common Sense Media, type in Saints Row, and it'll give you a synopsis of what's in the game. So it'll be like, hey, this is what the game's about. This is what's going to be in it. And then you're like, okay, now I can make an educated decision whether or not to buy this for my kids.
Are parents really going to go out of their ways to check out the content that their kids?
They should.
Because I think the main underlying problem here is that even though it's printed on the boxes, parents really aren't doing their research and aren't like paying heed to these warnings.
That's true, but I mean that's also part of the reason why companies like GameStop has an agreement with the ESRB, so like they enforce it. So anytime you try to buy an M-rated game, they're going to ask you for your ID. They tell the parents whatever. And some places don't. Like I don't know if Best Buy does. They used to. I know that Walmart doesn't at all. They don't enforce it. They don't really care because it's not a legal thing. Like you don't have to be a certain age, but the companies that are partnered with the ESRB, they're supposed to. And a lot of the companies that make the games, they want the seller to follow that ESRB rating.
Oh, right.
That's what they want.
So you think that carding people is probably the best way to get people to pay attention to ratings?
In terms of the ratings, yeah, I think that more than anything, I mean, attentive parents are always going to be attentive parents. Like, it's the parents that come in that are concerned, that ask me the questions. Those are people that I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not worried about you because you're trying to do the right thing. It's the parents that are like, yeah, whatever, you've seen worse on TV. And I'm like, your son's 9 and you're buying him Grand Theft Auto. And they're like, well, yeah, we let him watch HBO's The Wire. And I just want to be like, get out of my store. Like, you're terrible.
The Wire's a great show.
It is, but not for a 9-year-old.
He's got to learn sometime.
Does that 9-year-old live in Baltimore?
The streets are tough.
He can either learn if he's on the show or once he doesn't live in my house.
Andy,
I mean, for me.
Strong opinion on this by now.
Yeah, because I think that parents and adults have all been given the tools to pick the right games for their kids. I think ESRB, Common Sense Media, the box, and all customer service employees have been given all the tools to tell you what's going on. So I think it should be one step further. Maybe a rating system isn't strong enough. I agree with the front of the box for sure. Absolutely. Go front of the box.
Well, it's on both. I mean, it's on the front, and then on the back they give you descriptors. On the front, it's like, yeah. And then on the back, it tells you why.
And then we have, of course, a lot of stores have the list. But in my opinion, if a studio is afraid of getting that backlash again, if they're worried about, oh, this was in our game and we have to keep hearing it, I think, I would just like to see this personally. Those little cards with instruction manuals that no one reads anymore, right? Because all games are in tutorials. I think they should be responsible and just put a little bit of synopsis of what's going on. Honestly, I wouldn't be mad if it said, for the parents, here's what's in this game when you open this box and you know what's going on, or maybe giving it to other suppliers, because if you're going to have negligent parents who aren't quite sure what's going on and they just want to get out of the store, which is what happens most of the time, like, hey, he can buy the game, thank you, all right, we're going home, we have to hurry up, or digital games as well. Right. You got to give them more of a chance to find out what's going on. Because digital games, that's not going to stop it. If you have if you have an account, an Xbox Live account that gave a kid $60 to buy whatever game he wants, and that parent's, oh yeah, he's downloading a game.
Happens a lot.
It happens a lot, and they have no clue. And I've even had to tell parents in the past, hey, by the way, he can buy whatever he wants unless you put a password on the account. Again, they've been given the tools to make sure that stuff is blocked.
You're right, and I think it's important. They've gotten better about putting those tools in place. Like I know the new Xbox, the parental controls are awesome. Sony's really stepped it up on the PS4. Like the parental controls are there. The Wii U has parental controls, so you can go in and set it up and make sure that your kids have sort of that like block so they can't do whatever the hell they want.
Right.
I want to point out that it's funny we mentioned this because today on our games on Reddit was an article from the BBC who said that aggression from video games was linked more to incompetence than to actual violence in the games, and that they made versions of Half-Life 3 with less violence and versions of Half-Life 3 where you just would tag people and they would disappear, and that the violence in games really came from people being frustrated with controls and not knowing the game more so than actually hurting other people or hurting AI digital things.
So the act of violence didn't increase it.
The act of violence. It was the physical, like, they didn't give me a tutorial. I'm gonna smash this controller on my knee.
I hope all the ragers out there just paid attention to that statement. What Eric just said.
Because that's all you.
The reason why you're mad is because you're bad.
That's what the studies showed. That's what BBC's saying. But
it's science now.
There's been research in the past. They've done sort of correlation testing between violent video games and violent behavior, and scientists in general have found that there really isn't a correlation.
There isn't.
It's behavior and it all falls back on parenting. Like maybe I'm old school. I don't know. I feel like if you're doing your job as a parent, like your kids should be able to do pretty much carte blanche. But part of your job as a parent is saying no and setting limits, and that's what this is. The ESRB just makes it easier for parents to figure out which ones to limit and which ones not to.
So you agree with their level of involvement as of far, like besides a little more alerting?
Yeah, I think a little bit more. I think a little more information isn't going to hurt anybody. I mean, the less ignorance, the better. Mm-hmm. And like Andy said, with all the tools that are available, I think that's possible. I would like to see maybe one more slot in the ranking system, like something in between M and AO, because that is the biggest. That's the biggest pool.
Well, what I was thinking is like age levels, like even just like go year by year.
Can it just say
Because M covers a wide range of ages.
M is 17 plus.
I mean, you got games like Skate that nearly got an M rating because of the amount of damage you can do to someone's body by and the music.
They show you the broken bones.
Yeah,
they say the F word in the song.
Yeah, Rock Band's T because of the lyrics. I mean, they really do have to start kind of separating what's going on here. I mean, it's just not clear enough.
We always talk to parents too. We do the whole movie analogy. So like, what is it, like E is E for everybody, so that's basically like a G rating.
Yep.
And then E10 is basically like a PG. Was it T is PG-13?
Yep.
M is the same as an R rating, but then like NC-17 doesn't really exist in the video game world, and then X is AO, so there is no NC-17 for video games. Like there is no divider.
So we should start,
sorely needed.
Yeah. So all right, guys, get on it.
But isn't NC-17 17 and older?
Right, but what I'm saying is like there's R and there's NC-17 movies.
Okay.
Yeah, because
video games there's just M.
If you go to NC-17 movies, no one under the age. Even, you know how R is, if you're coming by a parent, you can still get in.
It's
17 is you're not coming in this theater.
Right.
Anyway,
and that's the difference.
even if your parents say it's okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, for me, all I got to say is parents really just play or just watch the game for 30 minutes. You know what I mean? I don't care how old the kids are, because there's younger gamers coming into it. Just spend 30 minutes. I watch the intro to the game. Okay, I kind of get what's going on, and I'm okay with it. Or I'm not okay with it. But don't come back surprised all the time when you didn't realize what was going on. And there's
drugs in that game.
Yeah, or there's that's how we meet Trevor. If you play Grand Theft Auto, you know how you met Trevor. And I've had some people try to get a one over. I can skip that stuff. Like, no, you can't.
No.
So
to be Trevor.
If you need a good web outlet to check out games, check out GAUstudios.com, because we got like the latest videos. We'll show you what's what in each of these games, and in the ratings and reviews, we'll tell you kind of what the content's going to be like.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks a lot, guys. I'd like to thank Drew, Andy, and Eric, and thank you for joining us. You can check us out at GAUstudios.com or at GAU Studios on YouTube. Thanks.
Let it go.
Facebook and Twitter, too.
Let it go.